What's up, guys? It's Father David Michael. I'm a Catholic priest, and I was recently listening to a podcast where the guest was a divorce lawyer that specializes in managing divorce cases. And he asked a very interesting question about marriage, and I have what hopefully to you will be an interesting response. So this comes right after a long episode where he's talking about how many marriages fail and why they fail. So he said something like, over 50% of marriages end in divorce. And then he made the interesting point that of the marriages that don't end in divorce, there often is a lot of other issues, right? Like, so there's infidelity, there's financial issues where the people aren't really living the vocation together well, but they've stayed married on paper. So he made the point that the number of actually successful marriages, the number of marriages that are actually what the people probably wanted them to be when they entered them, is probably a pretty small percentage of the whole. So we don't know exactly, but maybe only 25-30% of marriages. He made the point that if you went skydiving and somebody said there's a 25-30% chance that this goes well, you probably wouldn't go skydiving. But people so often enter into these marriages. So that's why at the end of the episode, this guy is asking, hey, should we get married? And here's what he says.
From a job security place, I hope people continue to get married, because if they don't, I'll be out of a job. But
funny joke.
In seriousness, I think we will continue to get married.
Should we?
I don't think we should say all of us should. I think we should ask the question. I think we shouldn't assume we should get married. That's what I think. I think that we should ask the question, what is the problem to which marriage is a solution? And do I have that problem? And will it solve that problem? Because the fact that it's an odd question to say when someone says, I want to get married, that it would be odd for me to go, why?
Yeah.
Why is that weird?
So his response really is, what problem does marriage solve? And do I have that problem? Kind of funny, because when couples come in for marriage prep, I have a lot of couples that I prepare for marriage from the clergy side of things. And that usually is the first question I ask is, why do you guys want to get married? You know, what about this makes you want to be a part of it? Because it's no secret that in today's world, people move in together, they live together, people have kids outside of wedlock, right? Why do you want to get married? Those things are obviously wrong to do, but you can certainly do them. So why do you want to get married? There is something good culturally that it's kind of the next step in a relationship. There's something good about that and healthy about that, but I do think it's worth asking. This is probably going to be difficult, so we need to know our motivations for this. I'm going to answer his question specifically in a minute, but from the church's standpoint, marriage is oriented toward the good of the spouses and the procreation and the education of offspring. So it's good for the spouses to be in union with each other. There's something very beautiful about that. And it's also good because it brings forth life through children. And then you actually rear those children. You actually educate those children in the faith and in life and such. So the union actually reveals God's love, the faithfulness, the fidelity, the bringing forth of life. These are all things that mirror the faithfulness of the love of God for all of us. But his question about what problem in your life does marriage solve? Do I have that problem? Made me think a lot. And after I reflected on it for a bit, I realized I think the problem that marriage solves, that each of us has, is that we're naturally pretty selfish. We're naturally pretty self-centered. We're focused on our own needs and our own wants. And marriage, in a really beautiful way, pulls us out of ourselves and makes us think about the other. It makes us more selfless by loving in that way. And I think the problem in our society is that so many people are entering marriage with just the opposite perception. They're entering marriage saying, I think this other person will make me happy. It's just another step in a self-centered life where we're hoping that the other person will serve us. And so if that's the mindset going in, especially if both people are thinking that, of course it ends in divorce. Of course it ends with brokenness and sadness because we've come at it from totally the wrong perspective. So I would agree with him in terms of if somebody said the problem is that I need someone to serve me, then you probably shouldn't get married. But if the problem is that I'm naturally going to be turned in on myself and I need to have another person who I'm living this life with who is constantly pulling me out of myself, through sacrificial love, to love the way Christ loves, and that they are loving me like that too, that they're dying to self, and we're constantly trying to outdo each other in generosity and sacrifice. That's beautiful. Like, you probably can't find a better solution to self-centeredness than that. Final thought, I was talking to a buddy of mine recently, young guy, and he's already had a pretty intense battle with cancer. And he's in remission now, but he's aware that his chance of having the cancer come back is pretty high, well above the average for other people. And he told me, he was like, Father, it's kind of hard for me to commit to things right now, because I feel like I might commit to something, and then if the cancer comes back, I'm gonna feel like I wasted all of that energy. And I said, man, think about it like this. Commitment is not just about what you're gonna get out of something long-term. Although that's a part of it, sure, you do get beautiful things out of long-term commitment. I said, really, commitment's more about who it makes you now. That committing to something makes you a committed person in the present moment. Like today I woke up and I prayed and I went to the gym. I'm not necessarily experiencing the long-term benefits of prayer. I'm not in heaven yet. I'm not necessarily experiencing the long-term fitness of health, but today I was a man of commitment. I prayed. I went to the gym. I said Mass. Commitment has changed who I am now. And I told him, man, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen to you in the future, but you can choose to be a man of commitment today if you want to be. So whether it's marriage or it's priesthood or the many other commitments throughout our lives, I think the problem is that we're naturally turned in on ourselves. And these commitments reorient us to others. They help us to love a little bit more sacrificially, which ultimately makes us more like Christ. Hope that was helpful. Be sure to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, comment, and we'll see you next time. God bless.